Can you take us back to the first meeting in October and kind of what you remembered there, and maybe how that was beneficial for this team in terms of learning from a loss?
Yeah, I kind of like there's one or two ways you can look at it. I think this year there's a lot of teams you can look at Penn State, for instance, kind of how they handled the loss, and then you look at teams like us, for instance, how we bounced back against Rutgers. So I think that game kind of just it really says a lot about our team and the maturity and the mindset we had after that game. I think it was good for us in a lot of ways, offensively, defensively, and I think we handled it in a very mature way.
Front row, James.
Since it's nearly 3 months ago from that game, Will had mentioned, a couple of guys mentioned after that you were really limited in practice that week leading up to it. Just how much or how little did you even do before that game, and how different are you today physically than you were at that point 3 months ago?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was very limited on what I did, and I think that had an impact on my play and the feel for the offense, as a whole. So, no, this week I think it's important that I just, keep getting those reps in. So we're going to completely different offense, from that game. So, just important we come out there, start fast, play with good chemistry.
Left side, second row, John.
Last time you guys played them, you were still working out of 11 as your base personnel, but since then you've had to adapt. It's been you and Jamari as kind of the physical, being able to find that 12 personnel with the two tight ends. How do you think that plays out, just bringing that more physicality with those two tight ends out there?
Yeah, I think it allows us to do a lot of things. We don't just have to be in a physical, 12 personnel set. We can get in 10 and 11 sets as well. So I think that makes it a bit difficult for defenses to figure out what they want to do, whether they want to play in, nickel sets or base sets. So, it gives us a bit of flexibility in a lot of areas.
Back left, Aaron.
The offense kind of struggled in the first half to finish against Texas Tech. You guys were able to come back and have a better second half performance. But now after looking at the film, what are some ways that you're kind of focused on preparing for this next matchup and getting a little bit faster start and being able to finish in the red zone to put some more points on the board?
Yeah, it really comes down to the little things. If you watch the film, it's just like one missed block, that ends up, stopping the play. So, it's really just focused on the real technique. Texas Tech was really good players, and the same thing for Indiana. When it comes down to good on good, it's the little things like the technique. So, no, it's just honing in on those little details. That'll be the separator.
On the left, Eric.
Wanted to get your early thoughts on Kendra. I know he's only been here a really short time, but just to see him moving around in practice, kind of what'd you see from him?
Yeah, he's done a good job. It's always nice to come in early and get a little head start. But I know he's done a great job. It's nice getting to know him.
Front row, James.
Like you mentioned, with 12 personnel, that you can operate in different sets. We saw in this past game a little bit of 13, but it's not. I don't know how true a 13 it is, because Roger's built the way he is, and you're built the way you are. What does he provide, not only as a potential receiver, as a tight end, but as a perimeter blocker, particularly when you guys lose a guy like Justice who was doing that role?
Yeah, like you said, we're able to do a lot of things in those sets. So I think it makes us, like I said, very flexible as an offense. When you get in those big sets, we're able to still run the ball. But, you saw like Minnesota, for example, we're really getting those 13 personnel sets and still throw, routes and stuff like that. So like I said, it just makes it more difficult to guard down the road.
Second row, John.
The defense that throws as many different looks as they do with in terms of their pressures and stuff. How have you seen Dante grow as a leader for the offensive line, for the tight ends, everybody, in terms of setting the protections and being that kind of guy to make sure everyone's set as blockers?
Yeah, I think it's night and day. If you go watch our first Indiana game and you go back to this JMU, which ran a similar scheme, with pressures coming from just about everywhere. Dante just has a really mature mindset about it. Every week he comes in and attacks it, and everyone can see in the building. So, we all trust him. He's going to get us in the right play, the right check, whatever it is.
All the way in the back, Olivia.
This whole program really preaches that next man up mentality. How much more important does that become when it's the end of the season? Guys might be hurting, and then on top of that, you're dealing with the transfer portal.
Yeah, all those things play a role, whether you like it or not. So, it's just really about focusing on what we have here. Lanning says that about every day in practice. There's going to be someone that shows up that hasn't all season. That's so true. So, there'll be someone this game that has a great game, but that just shows, once again, the depth of our roster, I think. Those guys that have left in the portal, guys are down for injury, and there's still going to be guys stepping up in just about everywhere. So, like I said, it just really shows the character, I think, of this team and the roster depth.
Front row, James.
They generate about as many TFLs as anybody in the country, and I think they had the most TFLs of any opponent against you guys. What is it that they do so effectively to be able to generate that pressure, not just in sacks, but yes, also in sacks?
Yeah, obviously they have great players. Then second to that, they have great schemes. So, when you look at the stems they do, sim pressures, all those things, just even players winning their one-on-ones on the edges do a great job. So, I think Tech was a good game for us. I think they're the best front in the country. So, getting to look at those guys and heading up to these guys, which is another great unit, I think it'll be good for us.
Second row, John.
Mentioned Tech being a good game for you, especially with their linebackers being two of the best in the country. Indiana is another team with really good linebackers. They're out there in a base personnel a lot. Just how do you think that Tech game is going to prepare you for facing those linebackers again, especially when it's you and Jamari out there now?
Yeah, like I said, really similar matchup for us. Tech's linebackers are amazing, and these linebackers are amazing as well. So I think it's just going back to the technique thing. When it comes down to good on good, it's really who has better technique and who wants it more.
Front row, James.
I want to mention that Dan had cited something about teams in March Madness and how they peak at the right time. Just can you convey a little bit more about what that message was and what you took from that?
Yeah, it comes down who plays their best ball in November and December. And leading into January now, how long the season is. But no, it's really you need to peak at the right time. You see a lot of teams, peak in the middle of the season or stuff like that, and then kind of just trend downhill. But no, it's kind of about just staying on like the steady, climb up the mountain. So I think it's kind of preached on. I think we're doing a really good job of it.